Welcome to the Season 17 tier list. I know you're probably going to scroll to the end in this little scroll bar and see what I've placed people, but we'll get into it. As usual, I'm going to start off with D.Va. I put my script that I wish I had more to say on her, but I just don't. She's just good all around. There's nothing much has really changed since last season, so still an A tier, still fairly equally viable in both the ranked and team play. Yeah, that's about it. And of course, if you see my eyes going left side, that's because I'm looking at my script. Next is Doomfist. In my script, I put Doomfist in C tier. It's worth mentioning now, actually, that I haven't got a single character in D tier. The reason why is I think every single character in this game has been pretty viable. You could be an OTP on Doomfist, right? And still get number one or still be really good at the character and get to like champion. Like we've seen that with Cartifan and whatnot. So that's what the C tier basically means, is that they're still viable, they're still playable. Even with bans, there's still a lot of ways to outplay Doomfist, right? Because you can ban Mauga, you can ban Sombra, but there's still Orisa that exists, right? There's still so many characters that stop you from what you want to do in terms of actually getting space and staging or actually diving and doing stuff. So that's why Doomfist is in C tier. Again, if you're really good at the character, you can pull him off. Okay, next up is Queen. She's going in A- to B+. She got a patch change that basically buffed her. It gave her more overhealth on her shouts, as well as giving it to more allies as well. It's actually a decent buff, and here's the thing, right? This buff isn't going to matter right now, because tanks like Orisa, tanks like Ramattra, they're really good at the moment, and we'll get onto those. But this buff is going to matter in a few months. You know, I won't be surprised in a few months later, I'm going to clip this, and I'm going to make a video saying the problem with Junkerqueen, and she's going to be really good. So it's really just other tanks that are better than Queen right now, that have got good matchups to Queen, that prevent her from going up. But yeah, I think for now, she's still fairly decent in the whole grand scheme of things. Well, next up is Hazard. Put him in A tier right now. He's gotten micro buffs to his perks. I think right here, right? This is just one of the micro buffs, many micro buffs that he's gotten. The main reason why he's kind of dropped off over time quite slowly is in part because of Freja, because obviously you can't really mock Freja as Hazard really when Freja's up in the skybox right now. And also if your dive isn't perfect, so if you're playing something like Hazard Genji Tracer or Hazard Sojourn Genji, something like that, characters like Orisa and Bap will just outvalue you over time and will just punish you. And because of Orisa, which we'll get into, that is actually fairly easy to do. But still, gonna be good in ranks, he's still good in team play. I think similar case as D.Va, right? The next one is Mauga. Now Mauga's, bro, I hate talking about Mauga because it's always the same case where people think Mauga is either like extremely broken or extremely dogshit. In actuality, the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? So you could put him here. For me personally, I've put him in A tier, mainly because again bans are they're so important to Mauga's success, and I think if Orisa wasn't as good as she is right now, I think Mauga would be slightly better, or at least decently more played, to be honest. I made a tweet, should be it, right, where I 3-stacked the Mauga Juno Brig and permabanned Ana in ranked, and I got a GM5. For reference, I don't really play the game. But that kind of shows you that in ranked especially, you really can get away with Mauga. And it's not even, you don't even need the 3-stack to do this, right? It'll take a little bit longer, right? But you don't even need the 3-stack to do this on Mauga. You can just ban Ana, ban D.Va in your games, and you'll get to GM5, or ban Orisa as well. The passive buff that he got, I think in this patch, right, yeah, not that meaningful, it's whatever, right? It's a nice quality of life change, but coming from a Mauga player, I think he's still really good. Next up is Orisa. I mean, gonna be a short one here, S tier. I mean, there's not really much to say. Last year, she was like hard meta, then her cooldowns got nerfed, then she got micro buffed back to meta. So that's why that happened to her last year in September, I believe. 2 weeks from now, if you see her damage getting nerfed, don't be surprised if she drastically falls off in the meta. But for now, she's S tier, I think. The next one is Ramattra. I put him in A+. He's currently the second best tank in the game, and again, the only reason why he's not higher is because of Orisa. I think there was a tweet here by Gold Eagle, right? Very good tweet. Basically, it was a clip of how Kuffer, who is the Ramattra on GK Esports right now, he basically clutched the fight by popping Nemesis form on 150 HP, and then because you can just block with armor, you get up to almost 90% damage reduction versus 4 characters, and you basically become unkillable. So I'm gonna I was thinking about making an entire video dedicated to Ramattra and his issues and why he's kind of broken. And Ramattra's also got, you know, a fair amount of threat himself. He's got his major perk that can like grab people to the ground on Vortex. Still really broken. Watch this clip, okay? This is how you counter Ramattra, okay? And it'll kind of show here why. So you see Ramattra right now, there he is, little guy in the middle there. He's gonna get blown up in the next 2 milliseconds. So you'll see a Javelin by Orisa anytime now. Javelin comes through and then gets blown the fuck up entirely, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's how only way you can kill Ramattra. Are we really doing Reinhardt right now? Okay, yeah, I mean, unless your name is Glacier or some other amazing Ryan OTP, do not play this character. Again, the only time we saw Ryan being played was by Twisted Mindset by KSA, and it went about as well as you'd expect, so clearly not very good. I was, again, thinking of doing a separate video on Reinhardt because the way his shield functions is outdated in the 5v5 format. So I was thinking again, I might do like a problem with Reinhardt type video, you know? Okay, yeah, gonna keep this one short. Hog, C-tier, same case. Unless your name is Dirt, Ribber, or Six, I do not want to see you on this character. Do not play this character. Please get off Hog. Again, honestly, similar case to Queen, I'm gonna be real. He's good. In theory and on paper, he's good into Orisa. The issue is that he's just way too squishy, right? I think we're kind of in a sustain meta right now, where the top 2 tanks are basically unkillable, and even these tanks have high forms of sustain in some kind of way, or they've got perks to give them more sustain. Sigma is not that guy. I think once the meta or sustain is devalued right now in the meta, that's when Six is going to shine a little bit more. But yeah, for now, Six is going to be A-, B+, still going to be good in ranked, still very versatile, can still mock angles really nicely. Okay, next one is Winston. I think overall though, I'm going to put Winston in A-, B+. It's partially because A, it's map dependent, right? But also, we've seen less and less Freja more and more throughout Season 16, and now she's still fairly good. We'll get onto Freja later, she's still pretty good at the moment. But Freja really killed Winston, and not just Freja, right, but Orisa comps, Bap comps, like high damage characters that prevent Winston staging so much, you know? And again, even the dive tanks that we do see are ones that have sustain cooldowns, that have individual abilities to live, right? Winston, it's just fairly easy to blow him up, and if you fuck up your staging just once, you are cooked on the character. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in A-, B+, because I still think in ranked, and in certain situations with certain bans, he can still be pretty good. In my script, I put Bull in A-, B+, but I genuinely, like, if you're playing against Sombra Tracer, this guy's dog shit, right? Or and Orisa too. But if you've got those bans and you're on a really good map for Bull, like New Queen Street, he's actually really good. I think I'll put him in A-, B+ for now. He's honestly kind of in a similar boat to Winston, right? Where it's just, he's still decent in the right hands, but it's kind of dependent on the map and the bans. Next one is Zarya. Okay, the only time, okay, I'm putting Zarya in B tier. Maybe even C tier, honestly. I might change my mind as we go throughout, but the only time we've seen Zarya is, oh yeah, here, right, by GK Esports, where they ran Zarya on the first point of Circuit Royale attack, and that was it. I think part of the reason is because, obviously, these two characters are really good into Orisa Sim, but also because the map is so linear that you can't really outflank the Zarya venture. You can't really out-rotate or avoid them. Barring that, bro, I have not seen Zarya at all. Honestly, saying that, I'm putting her in C tier, now that I've actually thought about it a little bit more. Next one is Ashe. Ashe suffers from, like, vacuum bias, and what I mean by that is, she herself is not a bad character. It's just that characters around Ashe, or a competition, i.e. Freja, Sojourn, Cassidy, they're just better picks at the moment. Again, it's not like Ashe is bad. It's very similar to Queen, honestly. Very similar to Queen. In that Queen is decent, but other picks are just better than Queen. Like, why would you play Queen over Orisa Ram at the moment? And it's a very similar thing with Ashe. So, I think you'll see her playtime increase once you see Sojourn and Cassidy get a little bit nerfed. Next one is Bastion. I'm gonna keep it real. Keep it $150. I'm making a Bastion video right now from, again, his playtime from Alcadia in this game here. You can see Bastion right now. Super situational, nothing much to say. Unless your name is, what's it called, Poo Sniffer, who's like the only Bastion OTP that I know. Do not play this character. The next one is Cassidy. Cassidy is A+ at the moment. The only thing remaining or stopping him from going in S tier is the fact that people like Sojourn and, again, Freja, he's just got competition around him, and he's not always the best hit scan to pick. Again, versatility is a big thing, map pick is a big thing, but the fact that Tracer is fucking 6 damage, and he's probably the best hit scan to play into 6 damage Tracer, very, very, again, good benefit bonus to playing Cassidy right now. Echo is going A-, B+, might go to B tier now that I think about it, actually. She did get a slight buff to her spread, right, where it's a little bit tighter, so the range of Echo's been buffed, but I never really thought that was the issue with Echo, or why Echo wasn't really getting played. Again, it's more so that people like Genji and Tracer are just better picks, right, and even Venture, right, again, Venture's gonna go in the same tier as Echo, spoiler alerts, but even Venture's got situations where they are more viable, or they've got like a USP compared to Echo, whereas Echo's just generally okay across the board. Can't really go wrong with her. I think she's strongest in and against Mauga comps where you get a really nice duplicate, you can burn Mauga in pre-fight quite a lot too, but barring that, there's not really a special case where I see Echo being extra viable. Next one is Freja. Freja is going in A tier. At the start of the season, she was actually S tier. I lowballed her last season tier list, but I think she's accurately in A tier now, I'd say. Gotten some nerfs, right? But I think the big one is 6 damage Tracer is really good into Freja, because it means that you can more consistently get the one clips onto the character too. And I think that's, again, part of the reason why that we saw last weekend, why Freja is not being picked as much. Baptimize Freja's value too much, there is that as well, right? Bap Lifeweaver comp does play a part in why Freja is also not getting picked as much too. Again, in ranked, she's still really good. The fact that she can still two-shot most characters in the game from distance, still really good. Her ultimate charges like crazy. Still got tons of strengths right now. And I definitely say she's better than Ashe, but not quite as good as the other hit scans at the moment. Next one is Genji. Genji's again going in A+. Last season I put him in S tier. I think again now it's just the competition around Genji, that's why he's a little bit lower than usual. But to be honest, maps don't affect Genji that much, the bans don't affect Genji that much, the comps don't affect Genji that much. Just all around really good DPS, and again, he's still got that USP of being able to hold close range angles and hold important space. He's gonna go in C tier, and I've kept the same script every single season about why Hanzo is just not great, but the only difference right now is the one time we saw Hanzo was as a counter to Bap Lifeweaver, mainly because their utility, i.e. Life Grip and Immortality and Region Burst, they're not useful pieces of utility if you just get domed in one shot. I think maybe this is one of the cases here actually. There it is, right? There it is. There you can see right there. Next one is Junkrat. Again, C tier. Unless your name is Gurkmeister or Aquamarine, I do not want to see you play this character. Do not play Junkrats unless your name are those two people. Do not be touching this hero. Mei is either so in my script I put A- or B+, or in B tier. I might put it down to B tier because she's so reliant on that Deep Freeze perk to actually do anything. And don't get me wrong, when she gets that Deep Freeze perk, she is so good into Ramattra, it's kind of crazy, right? You can get value out of Mei without relying on the perk or without relying on her wall. And I think the way you do that is by, being a duelist on Mei. And out-dueling Sojourns, which you can do with good micro. I think for now, I'm gonna keep it here, but we'll change it as we go throughout, of course, towards the end. Next one's Pharah. It's actually crazy how Pharah went from, like, A tier, low-key, to just nobody plays this character in pro play. Like, nobody touches Pharah anymore. And I think, again, I put in my script, Pharah has been found dead since Freja's release. The two-shot is just crazy, and Pharah's got a big hitbox. I still think Pharah is good if you ban Freja and you're on the correct map for it. Pharah still can be quite playable, but then it comes into, like, again, the heroes above her are going to be better and more versatile. Next one is Reaper. Gonna go and beat it as well. Got a small damage increase, but honestly, the only time we've seen Reaper be meta was during Stockholm, where Juno was broken. Juno kind of needs to be really good for Reaper to be played, because Reaper's got a really good matchup into Juno, but barring that, there are just so many ways to shut down Reaper, But that's kind of the main limiting factor as to why he's not as high up as he can be. Sojourn, she's going A+. It's very, very similar to Cassidy in terms of her case. Double side perk, still absolutely broken. Again, I think these two are kind of competing against each other, that I don't think I can, in a good conscience, say that Sojourn is definitively better over Cassidy, or Cass is definitively better than Sojourn. I think they're around the same level, so that's where they're going in that tier for now. She's also had a slight dip since Freja's release, but again, because Freja has decreased in power slightly, she's come back into the meta a little bit more. And of course, she's better into 6 damage Tracer than Freja. Soldier, gonna go in B tier. It's honestly a very similar case to Ashe, but just not as good as Ashe, in my opinion. I think in ranked, again, that sprint perk is really, really, really good. Like, it's so much nicer playing Soldier into Ramattra when you have that 20% sprint perk. It makes playing on, like, Suravasa, on New Queen Street, like those maps, it makes playing Soldier way nicer. But again, how dependent should a perk be on a character's viability? Up for debate, right? I think Mei is better without perks than Soldier is without perks. Sombra's hard to pick because her ban rate is so high. I think it's lower in high elo, which makes it a little bit easier. And also, I made a Sombra video, so I'll put this in the edit, but check this out on screen so you can see why Sombra's good or bad. Or the main thing with her is I think she'd be slightly better if A, Freja was more powerful because Sombra's got a really good matchup into Freja, and B, if Tracer wasn't so darn good with 6 damage. I know I've been saying it throughout, but 6 damage Tracer, I don't know why they buffed it, but it's what it is. Next one is Symmetra. So I think I put her A-, B+ in my last tier list, I can't remember, but I'm putting her a tier above because, of course, as we can see, the top 2 EMEA teams right now, TM and Alcatia, they are basically playing Sim as much as they can. Of course, this is pretty much a European-only thing, and I think the true viability of Symmetra is going to be tested come EWC, because NA teams and Korean teams aren't playing that much Sim compared to EU, or they're not leaning into it as heavily as Alcatia. Capitology, who is a tier 2 coach, mentioned this on stream, that the reason why Sim is so good is because teams are just uncoordinated and they don't know what to do against it, so we'll see if that's true for EWC. Torb might go C tier, I'll have to decide, but I'm putting him B tier for one reason, and that's because he's actually pretty good into Tracer, right? And I think in ranked especially, if you are struggling against 6 damage Tracer, Torb can be the solution. But barring that, there is legitimately no other reason to play this character. His strongest point in the game was Hazard, right? Being a counter to Hazard, but the perks for Hazard now kind of offset that, and he's just a worse range option compared to Freja, compared to Sojourn, compared to Sim, compared to Cassidy, compared to literally anyone above him. So that's why he's going in this tier. Only reason for being here is because of Tracer. Barring that, he would be here. Next one is Tracer, like an easy one, a very easy one. 6 damage. There's not much to sort of talk about here. I mean, guys, it's obvious, right? I will say, go watch this OBS Sojourn clip here, where Zarya, one of the best, if not the best Tracer player in North America right now, just hard carried team Liquid. Still lost because of Ramattra, sadly. But yeah, this clip was insane. So B tier for Venture. Where Venture is good, this is what I meant by potential to be OP, right? Because where Venture is good, they are so good, right? Again, this is just one of the Venture strats here by, what's it called? Yeah, GK, right? But they've also played it on New Junk City, if I remember correctly. And also Venture got a buff here this patch, right? Yeah, increased fire rate by, it doesn't look that much, right? But you can definitely feel the increased fire rate. So I don't think it really changes the viability of Venture, because Venture's always been subject to the map. And also Cass is really good as well, and Tracer as well, so there's that. Okay, next one is Widowmaker. She's going in B tier as well. I put in my reasoning, right? Freja is kind of the hidden counter to Widow, right? And people thought, and I thought this the other way around, that Widowmaker is just so much better than Freja, right? Because when Freja updrafts and peeks a corner, you can just one-shot the Freja, right? In theory, right? But that's not really how it works. Because if Freja peeks well, she will peek at a time when her Orisa or her tank is already in. So you're not really looking at the Freja, right? And if you take just one singular take aim shot, you get down to like 80 HP, you get wall hacks if you're Freja, but with that minor perk too, and you can't peek anymore if you get a body shot by Freja. Like it just sucks, right? And it's why we haven't seen Widowmaker on Soccer Royale, like her best map, right? Ana, I initially put her in B tier, but that felt kind of wrong, because her utility is so strong, even in ranked environments, that it feels a little bit disingenuous to put her this low. So I'm gonna put Ana in A- to B+, just because Nade is so incredibly strong, especially into app comps when Kiriko's not being played. But bro, barring that, there is literally no other reason to play Ana right now. Mainly because dive is just not that great at the moment, and the characters that can enable Ana to be played, i.e. dive characters, aren't that good. So that's kind of why she's not higher up, right? Her alternatives are just better, right? Baptiste, Orisa, right? Characters higher up. But yeah. Next one is Baptiste. Look, I can't say much else, you know? I mean, he's good with and against the characters that are currently meta. He's got one of the best matchups into Tracer, if you can aim, right? I think, again, I made a video on Baptiste, somewhere here, right, there it is, how Baptiste suddenly became meta. Go watch that video if you want to understand why. The reason why he's gotten so much play is because he can live, right? And the main comp that killed Baptiste in the past was dive, right? But because dive in general is a lot easier to play against, Baptiste is just going to get more value. And we'll get into why Juno isn't being played as much as she was, which is in part down to Orbital Ray and her throughput, right? But Baptiste can just do so much in terms of throughput and value that if he can live, it's great, right? And he can live, which is why he's been played so much. Next up is Brig. I was going to put Brig here with Ana, but I think Brig is a little bit more versatile than Ana, right? because you can play Brig Bap, you can play Brig Juno, of course you can play Brig Ana, and we've seen even some teams play Brig Kiri too. So I think, and even Brig Weaver, right? So I think that's the slight viability or versatility angle to Brig. That's why I'm putting her slightly above Ana. Also, Ramattra just destroys Brig, right? It's kind of the reason, a big reason as to why we don't see Brig as much, right? Because Ram, you can't walk up as Brig into Ram. You just can't, right? You'll get destroyed. Next one is Illari. Going in beta, I think, it's tough, right? Because the only time we've seen Illari is on circuit with Juno Illari comps or Apple Illari comps, right? I think she's kind of the best hero for that, right? Barring that, suffers from the exact same map dependency issues that all these characters in this tier kind of struggle from, right? Next one is Juno. Juno's, again, the interesting one. I'm gonna go in A- to B+. Again, might drag down Brig with her now I think about it. Again, the reason why you don't see Juno being played as much is A, she's not great into Tracer, right? 6 damage Tracer will melt Juno, but also the constant nerfs to Orbital Ray make it such that it's kind of not worth playing Juno anymore. Because, again, it's not worth staying on Juno for Orbital Ray. That's why teams have sort of leaned into Lucio Bap Kiri a lot more. Again, still decent, right? Not terrible. I think if we see some nerfs to Baptiste or Lucio, I think we might see Juno Brig come back into the meta a little bit more. But barring that, I think B+ is somewhat fair. And now that I say that, actually, I'm going to drag Brig down into this tier as well, because honestly, Brig is not great into a lot of these heroes that are higher rank as well, or higher above her. Next up is Kiriko. A+, right? I think she's kind of the main alternative to Baptiste when either Bap's banned or teams want to have a different, more mobile style. So that's kind of why. But yeah. Honestly, not much to say with Kiriko. If you want to learn how to play the character, watch a Bozo Cult video or watch a Simple POV, because Simple is insane at this character. Top 3 supports now for sure, I'd say. I don't know how many comments I'm going to get about this in the actual video, but he's actually decent now. He's actually decent. His main maps are Oasis, Ilios, King's Row, and Circuit. That's where he's been played the most in pro play at the moment by, of course, GK Esports. I've obviously made tons of videos on the character, so you can go watch that. Also, he's not bad into Tracer. He's actually not bad. The self-heal perk's quite nice, right? The Petal kind of Void Tracer. He's got increased HP, right? He's got 275, right? He's got healing on dash. Like, he's actually not bad into Tracer, or genuinely. Again, I think some options are just better than him, right? I think Bap's throughput on the character is just so high. Why would you not play Baptiste? And you've got Lucio as well for speed boost and ultimates, right? So that's why he's going in A- to B+, but honestly, actually viable. Next one is Lucio. I mean, guys, like, again, fairly obvious, right? And of course, got a slight buff to his base ceiling on his crossfade. You're going to be playing Lucio to the 2 other best supports in the game right now, being Baptiste and Kiriko anyway, so that's also another reason as to why he's S tier. Next one is Mercy. Going in C tier, right? I did make a video on Mercy, this one here, but the only reason Mercy was played was because Illari was banned. So that's kind of the only reason why she was played there. Second to last one is Moira. She got a decent, she's going in B tier. Got a decent heal buff from 70 to 80, I believe, right? Helping to offset the increase to the DPS passive. But the thing with Moira is that whenever you see her, she's never being played for healing. She's being played for DPS, for dueling potential. That's where you see Moira being played, right? In like those weird Moira Kiri comps. She has her place in those comps, but barring that, not much else with Moira really. Okay, next one is Zen. Going in the C tier. Honestly, might go B tier because I'd rather Zen than Mercy, and his duality perk got slightly buffed, so I'll put him here for now. The main thing with Zen is that you're gonna get touched by 6 damage Tracer. You better be banning out Tracer, bro, because if you're not, you're cooked. You're actually fried. I think that's the only saving grace for Zen right now. This is the final list. As you can see, I've made like a sort of tiering system about who could go up or down in the future. Also, if you are watching this 2 weeks or more from this video's release, please do not comment, oh yeah, you're wrong about the XY. Bro, shit can change in 2 weeks, okay? Patches can come through, meta can develop, okay? This is just what I've seen in the last week of WCS, as well as some projections over the last season or 2, right? I feel like Junkerqueen that high is optimistic, especially in ranked. Again, the reason why I put Junkerqueen fairly optimistically is in anticipation for an Orisa nerf, right? I think if Orisa gets nerfed, you're gonna see a lot more Queen, because Queen is good into Ram, or in some circumstances, right? Decent into Hazard on flat maps too. It's mainly the Orisa. Orisa's the gatekeeper for Queen right now, I believe. Or the biggest issue with tier lists, right? Is that these characters, even in these lower tiers, they can still be really good in some situations, right? Like Hanzo is really good into Battle Lifeweaver. It's something that this tier list doesn't really capture. I think that this is fine, to be honest. I think this tier list is fine. I'm going to call it here for stream.